My name is Tara Ellison, and I was in shock when my husband humiliated me in front of our friends, our family, even our daughter, and told me to get out of his house. So I did. And the next morning, I had 67 missed calls from him. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about what happens when a quiet woman stops protecting the man who broke her. I knew something was off the moment I stepped into the restaurant. Owen had picked Alder plus Ash, the kind of sleek Seattle place he loved for the way it made him feel richer than he was. No, it was the way his hand didn't reach for mine when I walked in. He just stood there smiling, hands in his pockets. I froze for half a second. The hostess had just pulled me aside to hand me a card. His handwriting, unmistakably Owen's, in that arrogant all-caps scrawl, "Surprise, dress nice." That was it. I had. I wore the navy dress he liked, the one that dipped just enough at the back. I even curled my hair, even though I was exhausted from the week and Mira had a fever 2 nights ago. Everyone was standing now, waiting for him to speak. "Thank you all for coming," Owen said, tapping a spoon to his glass. "This is a night to celebrate change, a new chapter." People chuckled. I gave him a small smile, confused. Was this not his birthday dinner? "I've made a decision," he continued, voice smooth like the 100 times I'd heard him charm investors or coax a zoning committee. "It's not something I take lightly, but I believe honesty is better than comfort." Something electric passed through the room. Not excitement. Tension. A few people glanced at me. "I've asked Tara." He paused, finally turning to me. "To move out." The room shifted. A fork clattered to the floor. I blinked. My mouth parted, but no sound came. Just the white noise of blood pounding in my ears. "I know this is a shock," Owen said, like he was announcing a new leadership role. "But Tara and I have been growing apart for a long time. It's time for both of us to move forward. Separately." His voice held the practiced empathy of someone who'd rehearsed it in a mirror. There was no tremor, no shame. And I want to be clear, this was my decision. Tara resisted it. But I can't live a lie just to keep up appearances. So I've asked her to give me space. And I mean that literally. Laughter. Someone laughed. I turned. It was her. At first I didn't recognize her. But then she crossed her legs and tilted her glass toward me like a challenge. Callie, his assistant, blonde, glossy, and 14 years younger than me. I'd met her once, at a holiday event. She wore red silk and called me Mrs. Ellison like it was a joke. I stepped forward. "Are you serious right now?" Owen's smile faltered for the first time. "This isn't the place." "No, apparently this is the place. You picked it." Voices shifted, chairs scraped. A few people stood awkwardly. His brother looked down at his napkin. Owen's father avoided my eyes completely. "So that's it?" I asked. "You invite our friends, your family, our daughter's godparents, to ambush me with a breakup speech? Like this?" "I didn't want to do it this way," Owen lied, shrugging with mock sadness. "But you gave me no choice." "No choice?" "You've been difficult, controlling. It's been coming for a long time." I stared at him. "You're cheating." That finally did it. The room held its breath. He scoffed. "Don't do this. Don't make a scene." "Then don't lie to these people. You're not the victim here, Owen." He glanced sideways, at her. Callie didn't flinch. "You're sleeping with your assistant," I said louder, pointing straight at the woman who was now visibly enjoying the show. "And you humiliate your wife in a room full of people to make yourself feel brave?" His lips tightened. "Tara, get out." That was when it happened. That moment. Like a glass shattering in slow motion. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," he said, waving a dismissive hand. "And get out of my house too. Leave." He said it like I was a problem. A guest overstaying. A burden he'd finally gathered the courage to discard. People were whispering now. Not all of them looked at me with pity. Some looked at him, like they were seeing him for the first time. I straightened. "No problem," I said, reaching for my clutch. Just one thing. He folded his arms, smug again. You might want to check the deed to our house before you throw me out. And the joint bank account. And the prenup clause that kicks in when one of us cheats. Now it was his turn to blink. I let the silence hang. Then I turned to Callie. You picked a man who can't even end his marriage without a round of applause. Good luck with that. And I walked out. No crying, no screaming. Just footsteps on polished wood and a door swinging shut behind me. Outside, the cold Seattle air slapped my face. I stood still on the curb, heart thudding. My phone buzzed. A text. From Mira. Did Dad say something weird at dinner? I stared at it, hand trembling, but only for a second. Then I typed back. I'll explain everything soon, sweetie. Don't worry, I've got this. Because I did. Because I will. Because starting tonight, I wasn't his wife anymore. I was his reckoning. They say hindsight is 20/20. I'd call it something else. Cruel clarity. A sick joke with perfect timing. The night after the dinner, I didn't sleep. I lay in the guest room at my friend Noelle's house, staring at the ceiling fan spinning in slow, useless circles. My phone was face down. Owen had called 6 times. I didn't answer once. Instead, I thought about the day I met him. We were 23. I was running a charity event downtown, a literacy drive. And he walked in late, wearing a suit too nice for the occasion, arrogant smile, full of confidence he hadn't yet earned. I rolled my eyes. He winked. 2 weeks later, we were inseparable. He said I grounded him. I believed it. For 16 years, I was his ballast. I built a home out of every dingy apartment we moved through while he chased bigger commissions. I cooked dinners from discount groceries, kept track of every receipt during the years we couldn't afford an accountant. When he failed, I lifted him. When he succeeded, I stepped back so he could shine. When Mira was born, I quit my job. He said it made more sense for one of us to focus on stability, and my salary couldn't compete with his. I said, okay. He said we were a team. I said yes. Even when I started to notice things, long nights, late meetings, a locked phone, the way he flinched when I asked who was texting, I swallowed the doubt. I didn't want to be the suspicious wife. I didn't want to believe I'd given up my career, my time, my family name for someone who could lie to my face. After my Aunt Lydia passed last month, the last blood relative I had, I felt the grief hollow out something in me. Owen was cold. Not cruel, just absent. He bought me flowers and then spent the night on his laptop. I cried in the kitchen. He didn't notice. The woman I used to be, the one who could have walked away before it got this bad, she started flickering back to life, quietly. In the mirror, when I looked at my own tired eyes and asked myself what I was still doing there. And then, last week, Mira said something I couldn't ignore. We were driving back from school. She was quiet for most of the ride. Then she said, "Does Dad always call his assistant baby on the phone?" I didn't answer. I just pulled over, stared at my hands on the steering wheel, and tried not to throw up. She said it casually, like it was just something she'd overheard. But I could hear the weight under her voice. She was testing me, watching to see if I'd tell the truth. I didn't. Not then. I just shook my head and said, "That's weird. Maybe you misheard." But that night, I checked his email. I hadn't done it in years. I'd told myself trust meant privacy. But that night, trust meant survival. It was all there. Restaurant receipts, hotel confirmations, a photo buried in his deleted files, her, wearing his shirt, in our kitchen, smiling like she owned it. I copied everything to a folder. I labeled it for Tara only. I didn't cry. I just kept clicking. The next morning, Noelle and I sat at her breakfast bar. She was pouring coffee, silent. She'd been at the dinner, had seen the whole thing unravel like a car crash in slow motion. "I should have left years ago," I said. "No," she replied. "You didn't see it until now because you loved him. That's not a weakness." She pushed a folder across the counter. Legal contacts, financial advisors, a notary. Noelle doesn't mess around. You can fix this, she said. You just have to stop protecting him. I nodded, but the words stuck with me, because that's what I'd been doing, hadn't I? Protecting him. From consequences, from judgment, from the truth. I let him take credit for the house, even though the down payment came from the inheritance my aunt left me. I let him complain about being the breadwinner, even though I saved us tens of thousands by managing our accounts, doing the taxes, and stretching every dollar when his commissions dried up. I let him forget who Mira calls when she's sick, who stays up checking her fever, who made that science fair volcano at 2 a.m. while he was working late. Me. He didn't just betray a wife, he betrayed a partner, a mother, a woman who made his life possible. So now? Now it's my turn. I looked at Mira after breakfast that morning. She was still pale, curled on the couch with tissues and orange juice. Hey, I said gently. You were right. She looked up, eyes wary. About what? About Dad. About the call. He's been lying. But I'm going to fix it, okay? I promise. She nodded. Then she whispered, Are we going to be okay? I didn't cry. I just took her hand, kissed the back of it, and said, Yes, baby. Because we're not the ones who need to be afraid. By the third missed call from Owen that morning, something in me had gone still. Not numb, not angry. Just still. I stood in the doorway of what used to be our bedroom, now stripped of warmth. The expensive duvet cover I picked out last year, the matching lamps I found on sale, the framed wedding photo still perched on the dresser. I stared at it for a long time. Then I picked it up and placed it face down in a drawer. That was the first move. The second came 10 minutes later, when I logged into our joint bank account and started clicking. Most people assume the wife in the big house knows nothing about money. Owen assumed it too, which was his first mistake. I handled our bills, our taxes, even our investment accounts. He liked to brag that I ran the back end, like I was his office manager, not his wife. But what it really meant was this. I knew exactly where every dollar went, what was liquid, what wasn't. So I started transferring, not draining, not yet. That would trigger alerts. I started with the savings account, the one under T. Ellison, the one his lawyer wouldn't even know existed because it had been mine since before we were married. I transferred $17,200 into it. Quietly, no flags. Then I opened a new account in just my name. I'd need it soon. By 10 a.m., I was on the phone with a divorce attorney. Her name was Mira Chen, and I picked her because she had a reputation for being surgical. No theatrics, just results. Do you have documentation of the infidelity? She asked. Yes, I said. And the house deed. My aunt's inheritance funded the down payment. I have proof. Good. Start packing anything sentimental today. Assume the rest may become contested. Her voice was calm, clipped, efficient. I liked her immediately. Do you want spousal support? She asked. No, I said. I want custody. Full. There was a pause. Then you're going to need to move quickly, before he gets his own attorney and tries to shift the narrative. Let him try, I said. He humiliated me in public. I have half the room as witnesses. She made a sound like approval. Then let's make sure he regrets it. I hung up. Then I called Noelle. I'm listing the house, I said. You're not playing around. Should I? No. Want me to bring boxes? Already started. And I had. I was in the hallway closet when I said it, taping shut a box labeled Mira's Keepsakes. The air smelled like dust and lemon cleaner. The silence around me was so complete, I could hear my own breathing. Steady. Calm. I didn't feel like a woman abandoned. I felt like a woman sharpening a blade. By noon, I had filed the change of address form at the post office and called a locksmith. I wasn't going to change the locks yet. That would be too obvious. But I wanted someone ready, on standby, for when I made the final move. At 1 p.m., Owen texted again. Can we talk, please? It's not what you think. I stared at the screen, then hit screenshot. I added it to the folder. Evidence. At 3 p.m., the real estate agent came. A woman named Jess, early 30s, sharp eye, no small talk. She walked the house like it was already sold. Nice space. Market's still hot in this zip code. It'll sell fast. If it's priced right and staged properly, you'll want to move out before open houses. I will. She blinked. You're serious. I'm done playing slow. By the time Owen finally showed up at the house just past 5 p.m., I was in the garage with a suitcase, zipping up Mira's old baby clothes. He slammed the car door and stormed in through the side entrance. Tara, what the hell are you doing? I didn't look up. Packing. For what? For my daughter's future. His face twisted. You're being dramatic. That dinner wasn't supposed to. Save it. I didn't plan to say it like that. But you did. On purpose. You wanted a performance. Well, congratulations. He stepped closer. Can we just talk? You're blowing this up. I turned slowly and met his eyes for the first time since he kicked me out. You don't get to call me dramatic. You stood in front of our friends, your father, our child's godparents, and declared you were done. So I'm making it official. He paused. You don't have to do this right now. We can fix this. I almost laughed. You told me to leave your house, I said softly. So I'm taking what's mine. The rest, I'll let the lawyers sort. He looked at the suitcase. Then at me. You're not even crying, he said. No, I said. I already did that, while you were texting her in bed beside me. He flinched. I walked past him, suitcase rolling behind me like thunder. He didn't follow. He just stood there, watching the woman he thought would never leave, walk out on her own terms. The first consequence hit before sunrise. I woke up to my phone buzzing on the nightstand at Noelle's place. Not Owen. A bank notification. Transaction declined. I smiled without meaning to. By 8 a.m., my lawyer had filed the initial paperwork. Nothing flashy. Just enough to put the brakes on everything Owen thought he controlled. Accounts flagged. Spending limits tightened. A notice sent to his firm requesting financial disclosures. I poured coffee and watched the steam rise, calm as if this were just another weekday. At 9:12 a.m., Owen called. I let it ring. At 9:14, a text. Why can't I access the business account? Screenshot. Evidence folder. By 10, Noelle's phone started lighting up. Mutual friends, people who'd been at the dinner, people who hadn't. Is it true? Did he really tell you to leave? Are you okay? I answered a few. Briefly, factually. No adjectives, no drama. Yes. In public. Mira and I are safe. That was it. The story spread anyway. Someone posted about the dinner in a private group chat. Someone else repeated it at a gym. A version reached Owen's office before lunch. Exaggerated. Sharpened by retelling, but unmistakable. He kicked his wife out. In front of everyone. For his assistant. By noon, Callie felt it. She texted me. Bold move. I'm sorry you're hurting. This isn't how I wanted things to come out. I stared at the message, then showed it to Noelle. She thinks this is a misunderstanding, Noelle said flatly. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my lawyer. At 1:30, Owen showed up at Noelle's front door. I didn't answer. He knocked again, louder, desperate now. Tara, please, he called through the door. This is getting out of hand. Noelle stood beside me in the hallway, arms crossed. You want me to tell him to leave? No, I said. Let him hear the silence. Eventually, he left. I watched his car pull away through the front window. At 3:00 p.m., Mira's school counselor called. Your daughter seems distracted today, she said gently. She asked to go to the nurse twice. I'll pick her up early, I replied. Thank you for calling. When Mira got in the car, she didn't cry. She buckled her seatbelt and stared straight ahead. Dad's office called the house, she said. He sounded mad. I gripped the steering wheel. About what? He said something about money. I nodded. That's not your problem. She was quiet for a moment. Then, "Is he mad at you?" I didn't lie. "Yes." "Is that bad?" "No," I said. "Sometimes it's necessary." At 5:47 p.m., Owen's brother texted me. "I didn't know. I'm sorry. This isn't okay." At 6:02, his father called. I didn't pick up. At 6:15, my lawyer emailed me a forwarded message Owen had sent her by mistake, meant for his attorney. "She's freezing me out. I can't access funds. This is hostile." I laughed then. A short, surprised sound. Hostile. That night, after Mira went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. I drafted an email to the realtor confirming the listing date. I scheduled a meeting with a financial planner. I uploaded another folder of receipts. Owen called again. And again. By the 10th missed call, his tone changed. The messages softened. "I'm scared. We can fix this. Please don't do this to me." I didn't respond. Because here was the truth he didn't understand yet. I wasn't doing anything to him. I had stopped protecting him. And that was the difference. The next morning, the first official notice hit his inbox. And that was when the panic set in. The brunch was Owen's father's idea. A last-ditch attempt to restore the family image. He called me himself, voice tight. "We need to speak, face to face. This is spiraling." I agreed to meet. Not for him, not for Owen, for me. Because sometimes the most effective strike doesn't come in private. It comes when they think they're still in control. The restaurant was high-end, old money, the kind of place that didn't list prices on the menu. Owen's family had been going there for years. The staff knew their names, their preferred seating, and their delusions of dignity. I wore black, not out of mourning, but precision. Clean lines, no jewelry, hair back. Let them try to find weakness in that. When I walked in, Owen's father, Reed Callan, stood to greet me. He didn't smile. Owen and Callie were already seated. Yes, Callie. She wore white. Of course she did. I slid into the seat opposite them without a word. The server appeared, polite and quick. "Coffee, ma'am?" "Black," I said. "No sugar." The silence that followed was immediate and suffocating. Owen cleared his throat. "I'm glad you came. We've all had a chance to cool down." I tilted my head. "Cool down? You think this is about a temper?" His father interjected. "What happened at that dinner was regrettable. But airing everything publicly isn't the way." He meant the story, the whispers, the way half their business circle now looked at Owen like a dropped stock. "Regrettable," I repeated. Interesting word choice. Not dishonest, not cowardly, just inconvenient. Callie leaned forward, trying to insert herself. "We didn't plan for it to go like that. Emotions were high." I looked at her, slow and surgical. "You've spoken enough." She blinked. Owen shifted uncomfortably. "You said you wanted to talk," I said, now looking at Reed. "So talk." He pressed his lips together. "The way this is unfolding, lawyers, accounts frozen, the property listing, it's making waves. It reflects poorly on the family." "The family," I repeated, nodding. "Ah, so not me. Not your granddaughter, just the family name." He bristled, but I didn't give him time to speak. "I didn't drag this into the public eye. Your son stood up and announced our divorce like a quarterly earnings report, with her sitting next to him, smirking like she won a raffle." Callie shifted. "Okay, I don't think this tone is productive." "You know what else isn't productive?" I said, eyes locked on hers. "Sleeping with your boss and then acting surprised when people don't clap for you." The server returned, awkwardly setting down coffee. No one touched it. Owen leaned in. "Tara, we don't have to do this. You're angry. I understand that. But there's still a way to end this with some dignity." Now I laughed. Quiet. Cold. "You want dignity?" I reached into my bag and pulled out a manila envelope. Nothing dramatic. Just enough weight to make the point. I placed it on the table and slid it across to Owen. "What is this?" he asked. "Copies of the messages you sent her. From your work email. Some dated during our anniversary trip last year. The same week you swore you were reconnecting with me. Callie looked like she'd swallowed her tongue. Owen didn't touch the envelope. Reed spoke next. This doesn't need to be a scandal. We can settle this quietly. No, I said. You hope it can be settled quietly, because if it's loud, people might start asking questions about how long you've known, about what else you've looked the other way on. That landed. His face tightened. Owen looked between us, panic creeping in. Tara, please. I stood. And then I said it. Loud enough for the two nearby tables to hear. Clear enough that someone would remember the line and repeat it later. Here's what you don't get, Owen. I wasn't the woman behind you. I was the woman beneath you, holding everything up while you stood on my shoulders pretending you built it alone. He froze. Callie turned pale. Reed said nothing. I picked up my purse. Oh, and Callie? I said, turning to her. He cheats on his wife. He'll cheat on his mistress. Good luck watching your back. And then I walked out. Again. But this time, it was different. This time, I didn't leave in silence. This time, they all stayed seated, stunned, exposed, and burning under the weight of their own choices. The video hit the internet 2 days after the brunch. I didn't record it. I didn't need to. Someone at a nearby table had their phone angled just right. My voice was clear. My face was calm. The camera caught the exact moment I slid the envelope across the table, and the exact second Owen realized what it was. But the line, that line, is what spread. I wasn't the woman behind you. I was the woman beneath you, holding everything up while you stood on my shoulders pretending you built it alone. Someone clipped it, added subtitles, and posted it to a local gossip page. From there, it was out of my hands. Comments poured in. Say it again for the ones in the back. I don't even know her, but she's my hero. Men like Owen deserve to be exposed. By the end of the week, the clip had over 300,000 views. Noelle showed me the post while we drank tea at her kitchen table. You've officially gone viral, she said, raising an eyebrow. I didn't want this to be public. Too late, she replied. But it's working. I didn't know what she meant until the messages started trickling in, from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Tara, I'm so sorry. I never liked the way Owen talked to you at parties. My husband used to work with him. Said he bragged about manipulating permits. I should have warned you about Callie. Each one was another crack in the facade Owen had built. Then someone, I still don't know who, leaked the emails. Real ones. The kind I had stored in the evidence folder. Somehow, screenshots started circulating. Subject lines like, need you tonight and she's clueless, with exact dates and office timestamps. Suddenly, the image of Owen as the clean-cut family man vanished. I didn't say a word publicly, but silence can be louder than spin. And Owen? He spiraled. First, he posted a vague status about personal matters and privacy. Then, a full denial. I never meant to hurt anyone. I ask that people respect the complexity of real relationships and avoid one-sided narratives. Comments were turned off within an hour. Then came the hashtags. Team Tara. Callan collapse. You built Tara. I woke up to my own name trending in local headlines. Not because I'd said anything, but because I hadn't. A woman from a podcast reached out for an interview. I declined. No. Let them keep talking. I don't need to explain myself. Owen did, though. Desperately. He released a statement through a PR rep. Half apology, half gaslight. There's been a lot of noise. I want to focus on healing and ask the public not to judge what they don't understand. But people did understand. That was the problem. The internet isn't kind to men who cheat and humiliate their wives on camera, especially when the wife keeps her mouth shut and lets the facts speak. Then came the professional fallout. One of Owen's investors pulled out of a condo deal. I found out through a quiet text from his brother. They saw the video. They don't want the bad press. He lost the contract 2 days later. Callie, suddenly less smug, wiped her social media clean. No more couples pics. no cute captions, just a blank profile and a locked-down account. Rumor had it she asked for a job transfer. I didn't bother confirming it. Then came the kicker. An anonymous source leaked that Owen's firm was being audited. A small story, buried at first, but enough to set off alarms. I sat with my lawyer that afternoon, reviewing the divorce paperwork. "Any regrets?" she asked. I thought for a moment. "No," I said. "He built this house of cards. I just opened the window." The first asset freeze went through on a Tuesday morning. My lawyer sent me a simple message. "It's done. He can't touch the accounts without going through us." I sat in my parked car outside Mira's school, watching students spill out with backpacks and soccer cleats, and felt nothing. Not joy, not triumph, just clarity. I had warned him. Now it was paperwork's turn to speak. The house officially went on the market the next day. Photos of the kitchen I redesigned, the living room I painted with my own hands, staged to look like no one had ever lived there. A for sale sign stood at the edge of the perfect lawn like a monument to everything I'd carried alone. Owen found out from the listing, not from me. I didn't owe him an update. He showed up at Noelle's later that afternoon. Again. Unannounced. This time looking wrecked. Hollow eyes, wrinkled shirt, the edge of panic just under his breath. "We can work this out," he said. "You don't have to destroy everything." I didn't invite him in. "It's not destruction," I said. "It's division. You chose this." "I made a mistake." "You made a series of them, repeatedly. And now the court will sort out the damage." His jaw clenched. "You're not the woman I married." I leaned against the door frame. Calm, tired of the performance. "You're right. She would have forgiven you." I closed the door. 2 days later, we were in court. Divorce proceedings, custody arrangements, financial disclosures. My legal team had every receipt, every shared asset traced, every dollar tracked back to its source. The house? Purchased with my inheritance? The retirement fund? 65% mine. I had proof of every contribution made during the years he was unemployed. His car? Leased under my name. Our daughter? Already requesting to live full-time with me. Owen's lawyer tried to argue instability on my part, claimed I'd emotionally retaliated. But I stayed silent. Let the facts speak. Then the judge read a portion of the now public email chain, the ones where he called me a weight and Mira a distraction. The courtroom went dead quiet. Afterward, Mira's therapist submitted a statement. She wanted to stay with me. She didn't feel safe with him anymore. Not physically, emotionally. The judge didn't hesitate. Primary custody. Awarded to me. Owen. Supervised visitation until reviewed. Spousal support. Waived, per my choice. Child support. Ordered, non-negotiable. He didn't look at me when the ruling was read. Just sat there, gray-faced, as the system he'd assumed was on his side outlined the cost of betrayal. But the real damage came after. His father called me again. This time, voice low. Defeated. "I'm sorry, Tara. I believed him longer than I should have. I didn't say anything. He told me you were unstable," he continued. "Manipulative. I see now he was describing himself." I still said nothing. But then he added, "The trust is being rewritten. He won't inherit." And that was when I let myself breathe. Not because I cared about the money, but because consequences were finally catching up with his lies. Callie was gone by then. She disappeared quietly, like a bad investment. Someone said she moved to Portland. Another said she was suing Owen for emotional distress. I didn't confirm either story. I didn't need to. By month's end, Owen had moved into a short-term rental across the city. No furniture, no car. Just him, a mattress, and the echo of everything he'd gambled away. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. Mira and I signed the lease on a townhome a few blocks from her school. Small, clean, full of light. No marble countertops, no pretense, just ours. The morning we moved in, Mira looked around the living room and smiled. "It's quiet," she said. It's peaceful, I corrected. Then we unpacked, not just boxes, but a new beginning. He texted again. I need 5 minutes, just to talk. Please. I didn't reply. 2 days later, he emailed. I'll be near Mira's school. I'll wait outside the coffee shop at 4 if you'll meet me. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because I was tempted, but because I realized something. He still believed this was a negotiation, that if he just said the right words, hit the right note of apology, of sentiment, I might forget, or flinch, or hesitate. He didn't understand yet. This wasn't about hate. It was about ending. So I showed up. Not for him, for the last piece of closure I needed. He was already sitting there when I arrived. Same old coat, same slouched posture, but different somehow, smaller. Owen had always been a man who carried himself like he owned the room, even when he didn't. Now, he looked like someone renting time inside his own life. I walked in, ordered a tea, and sat across from him without a word. He looked at me like he didn't know where to begin. I'm glad you came, he said. I waited. He exhaled. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I gave him nothing. He tried again. I was wrong. About everything. About how I handled it. About her. About you. I stirred my tea. He leaned forward, voice low. I lost everything, Tara. Did you come here for sympathy? No, he said quickly. No. I don't know who I am anymore. That's not my problem. He flinched. Just barely. I kept my voice even. You wanted space. You got it. You wanted freedom. You have it. You told me to leave your house, so I took everything I built, and I did. I didn't mean for it to go this far. No, you didn't think it would, I said, because you assumed I'd stay quiet, like I always did. I was scared. Of what? Losing me or looking bad? He said nothing. I studied him. This man I once built my life around. The lines on his face looked deeper, his eyes, less sure. It wasn't age, it was exposure. He was finally seeing himself without the buffer of me. I made you feel like you were nothing, he said softly. I didn't answer. You gave me everything, and I gave you lies. Still, I said nothing. He reached into his pocket and placed a thin bracelet on the table between us. Silver. Bent slightly. The one Mira made for me years ago in art class. I thought it had been lost. She left it in my bag. I thought you'd want it back. I picked it up, held it in my hand. Then I met his eyes. You broke a family, Owen. You didn't just cheat. You lied over and over, and you let me be the one carrying your mess while you played the victim. I know. No, I said sharply. You don't. You're sorry you lost. You're sorry the world saw you. But you're not sorry for what you did to me. Not really. He looked down. I thought I loved her. I don't care. That stunned him more than anything else I'd said. You don't owe me explanations, I continued. And I don't owe you forgiveness. I'm not here to relive it or reopen anything. I'm here to end it. Clearly. Finally. He swallowed hard. So that's it? Yes. His voice broke slightly. Is there really no way back? Back to what? I asked. To the version of us where I pretend not to notice when you lie? Where I make excuses for the way you make me feel small? That version of us doesn't exist anymore. You ended it. I finished it. He leaned back, like the weight of those words landed somewhere behind his ribs. I stood up. Tara. I turned. And I said the last thing I would ever say to him. You mistook my silence for weakness. But silence is just patience, and I was waiting for the day I no longer needed you. His eyes glistened. He opened his mouth. I didn't stay to hear it. I walked out into the cold Seattle air, tea still warm in my hand, Mira's bracelet around my wrist. I didn't look back. 9 months later, peace looked different than I thought it would. No dramatic turning point. No cinematic montage of reinvention. Just the slow, quiet rhythm of living, with no one watching the clock, no one weighing my worth against a balance sheet. and no one calling my name just to ignore what I said. Mira thrived first. The change in her was subtle at first, lighter footsteps, a deeper laugh. Then it settled into something more solid. She joined the debate team, started baking again. Last week, she told me she wants to study psychology. So I can understand people like Dad before they ruin things. I didn't correct her. I just nodded and said I'd help her get there. We still talk about him sometimes, briefly, practically, but never with longing. Only context. His name has become an event, something that happened, not something we orbit. The townhouse we rented became a home faster than I expected. There's no guest room, no marble countertop, but there's music in the kitchen most mornings, shoes left by the door, laughter that doesn't feel like it's waiting for someone to ruin it. And me? I'm working again. Consulting, nonprofit strategy. It started small, a few clients, a few hours, then more. Then more. I built a schedule around my life, my hours, my daughter, my peace. Freedom is not loud. It's not revenge. It's not a victory speech. It's standing in the doorway of your own life and realizing no one else gets to dictate your exit or your return. Owen, as far as I know, is still in that one-bedroom rental across town. The firm cut ties with him quietly. A new junior partner took his place. I heard Callie threatened legal action, then disappeared. One mutual friend said he's been applying for out-of-state jobs. Another said his father changed his will for good. He tried to reach out once, about a month ago. An email, unsigned, with no subject line. I deleted it without reading it. There's nothing left to say. He became irrelevant the day I stopped playing defense. Sometimes, when the light hits just right, I think about the woman I used to be, the one who waited up, who smoothed things over, who thought silence was the same thing as safety. I love her. She got me here, but she's gone now. Not out of bitterness, out of evolution. She stepped aside so I could become someone who doesn't just survive betrayal, but rewrites the story after it ends. Thanks so much for watching. If this story hit home or made you feel anything, tap the hype button to show some love. I'd really like to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever seen betrayal this bold? Or lived through something like it yourself? Let's talk about it down below. And if you want more emotional stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it.